This is a reading called Poinsettias and is written by the American Benedictine monk Albert Holtz in his Advent book, From Holidays to Holy Days, which are based on his daily walks around his parish in New Jersey. It is Christmas Eve, and as I am walking along Ferry Street past the Portuguese travel agency and the sports shop, I slow down to admire a row of beautiful poinsettia plants in the window of an Ecuadorian restaurant, their red flowers glowing in the sunlight. They really are perfect plants for Christmas, I think to myself. In fact, in their native Central America, they're called Flores de Noche Buena, Christmas Eve flowers. Turning to continue on my way, I start remembering the beautiful Mexican legend about the first poinsettia plants. Once there were two little children, Pepita and her cousin Pedro. Like all children, they loved the Christmas parades and parties in the days leading up to Christmas, but being poor, they never had money to buy presents. They specially wished that they could have something to bring to the baby Jesus in the large manger scene inside the village church. One Christmas Eve, the two poor children set out for church empty-handed as usual, to watch as many of the other children brought their fine gifts to the Christ child in his manger. As they got close to church, however, little Pepita grew desperate because she had no gift, and kneeling down by the side of the road, she picked a handful of scraggly weeds, which she made into a bouquet. She was ashamed of her gifts as she entered the little village chapel, but Pedro tried to comfort his cousin by saying, "You know, Pepita, that even the most humble gift, if you give it out of love, will be acceptable in his eyes." Of course, Pepita was teased by the other children when they saw her pathetic gift, but she kept silent, knowing that this was the best she could do. As she walked toward the altar where the manger scene was set up, she remembered Pedro's kind words. "You know, Pepita, that even the most humble gift, if you give it out of love, will be acceptable in his eyes." Then she knelt and carefully laid her little bouquet of plain weeds on the straw in the nativity scene as her gift to baby Jesus. Suddenly, in full view of everyone in the church, the green top leaves of her weeds burst into star-shaped flowers of brilliant, and soon the whole manger was surrounded by the same beautiful crimson stars. From that day on, the deep red flowers that bloom each year during the Christmas season will become to be known as Flores de Noche Buena, Christmas Eve flowers. I start looking for more poinsettias in shops along the avenue. Noticing a couple of them in the window of the Mexican restaurant, I look more closely through the plate glass and see that there is a little plant on every table. Pepita's beautiful poinsettias are good reminders that God can do beautiful things with the poorest of gifts. Sometimes, for example, we show up at prayer with nothing to offer but a fistful of weeds. We may be distracted or upset or too tired to concentrate on our prayer, but the Lord, who sees our hearts, transforms our pitiful attempts at praying into a beautiful gift, pleasing in God's eyes. Walking on, I notice a patch of scraggly green weeds around the base of a tree along the sidewalk, and think about how I need to get better at spotting poinsettias when dealing with people. Maybe a grumpy response to me is the best that a person can manage on a certain morning. And maybe even that took a lot of effort on their part. Maybe a poorly done homework assignment is actually a remarkable accomplishment for one of my students, given the horrendous circumstances he is living in at home. I pray that instead of criticising the weeds that people sometimes offer me, I might be able to recognise them as gifts, like Pepita's star-shaped flowers. Spotting another poinsettia plant in another window, a large one with white leaves instead of red ones. I begin to wonder if perhaps some of my own offerings of weeds have not turned into poinsettias now and then. A simple 2-minute phone call was the best I could manage that day, but the person receiving it may have seen it as a beautiful gift of kindness and caring. Or I stand helplessly beside another person's hospital bed and smile and apologise. I wish there was something I could do. The sick person answers, "You've already done it." Somehow the Lord has turned my frustrating inability to be of help into a lovely gift. My fistful of weeds has blossomed into flores de noche buena. I come to a busy corner by the Portuguese gift store. There are no poinsettias in view, but I look down at my feet. Sure enough, in the cracks of the sidewalk along the curb, there are plenty of weeds. Think of someone whose sincere efforts may not live up to your expectations. Do you perhaps need to see those efforts the way God sees your own, as something not only acceptable but beautiful? Perhaps today the sight of a poinsettia plant may encourage you not to give up, even when your efforts seem inadequate or the results disappointing. God our Father, whose word has come among us, in the Holy Child of Bethlehem, may the light of faith illumine our hearts and shine in our words and deeds, through him who is Christ the Lord. Amen.